tenants have a strong lobby. Teachers have a strong lobby. Plumbers, electricians, everyone has a strong
Right.
lobby. Co-ops do not have a strong lobby.
Well, that is our
And
whole
condos.
goal. We are out in the field, and you will see us in your building. And our T-shirts say, "Protect your home against local law 97." That's what it says. Protect your home.
This is the Co-op and Condo Insider, the podcast dedicated to New York's cooperative and condominium communities. This is your trusted source for the latest insights, strategies, and stories shaping the world of shared housing. You will hear from the people who are leaders in this community, information and insights you will not hear anywhere else. If you want to stay ahead of the curve, you're in the right place. The views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the host or any affiliated individuals or organizations.
Hello, and welcome to the Co-op and Condo Insider, where we explore the real-world issues facing co-op and condo communities across New York City with insight, expertise, and a healthy dose of straight talk. I'm your host, Jeffrey Maisel, a co-op attorney and legal advisor to the President's Co-op and Condo Council, and I'm thrilled to be joined by my co-host, Richard Solomon, a seasoned voice in public radio for over 20 years. Richard has taken his listeners around the world to meet experts, newsmakers, and the people making a real difference in our everyday lives. Richard, it's great to have you on the mic with me today.
It is great to be here, and what a great guest. What a great guest for today. I won't say more than that.
You can say more than that. Well, we are thrilled to have...
I let the cat out of the bag last time.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, so we have you are actually the highest ranking government official we've had on this podcast to date. So congratulations on that honor. We are going to try and go higher, but right now you are the highest. So we're thrilled to be joined by former New York State Lieutenant Governor, news personality, and advocate on many critical issues over the years with an incredible career, Betsy McCaughey. Betsy, welcome.
Oh, I feel so delighted to be on this show. And today we have some very important issues to talk about because suddenly co-op and condo law is at the linchpin of this mayoral election.
Well, speaking personally, because I've been doing this 40 years, and I feel our issues, co-op and condo issues, I always say it's people's homes.
Yes, exactly.
And what's more important than a person's home, yet to explain some of the issues, which we'll, of course, get into later, further, it's not front page news. It's not sexy. It's not exciting, but it's things that are going to cost you and greatly affect your lives.
Yes, and it should be front page news. Actually, I've written 2 columns about it so far. And, my editors say, "Why are you writing about that again?" I said, because it affects 1.4 million New Yorkers, 832,000 units. You point to another issue that is more impactful. This is going to hurt so many people. I'm referring to local law 97, of course.
So the way we cross paths, and I read your New York Post editorial about local law 97, and I said I could have written this. It was so spot on. You even cited Queensview Inc., which is my client, and I've been working with them for many years, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then we reached out. The co-op community reached out to you to see what you were doing and where these issues fit in your current activities. So let's talk about what you're currently doing. There's an organization, Save NYC. Tell us why, when, and what is the
SaveNYC.org. Ray Kelly, the longest serving police commissioner and a very good friend, he and I launched this together. It's nonpartisan, but we were extremely concerned as we watched the mayoral election evolve. And at the same time, quality of life in New York decline. Ray's top priority, of course, is crime. He's very concerned with the diminution in law enforcement and the steady decline in just order on the streets. We're being enveloped by chaos, right? Whether it's prostitution or shoplifting or a lot of other activities that the left calls minor crimes, but they're not minor if they're in your neighborhood, right? So We launched SaveNYC.org. As I said, it's nonpartisan. Our goal from day one was to increase voter turnout, engagement. We know that if we get out enough New York voters, they will make a smart decision. In a low turnout election, often a candidate who is really not best for the city wins. And so we're motivating New Yorkers to turn out. And we looked at this group of New Yorkers affected by Local Law 97, 1.4 million people. That is a huge block of voters. If they vote together, if they unify and go to the polls to protect their own homes, never mind ideology, never mind whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or a conservative or a liberal or a working families party, whatever you are, it doesn't matter. Go to the polls to protect your own home. And that is our message.
So just to give a little color and background, since I am the Local Law 97 nerd here. Local Law 97 was passed in 2019. The President's Condo Council and many other organizations were, we were very concerned because it was landmark legislation. And we met with the prime sponsor of the bill, Costa Costanitas, and we said, this is all great. The goal of the legislation is to reduce carbon emissions. And there's only one group of residents in New York City that actually have to pay for retrofits, and that's carbon condo. The one group of residents is carbon condo homeowners. So we asked Costa, how are we going to pay for it? And the answer we got was, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Fast forward 6 years. That's the answer we keep getting.
Yes. Well, let's just give our listeners the concrete facts here. It costs many, many millions of dollars to convert a building from heating oil or natural gas heat to electric heat. Many, many double-digit millions of dollars. And according to the law, the actual residents, the co-op and condo owners, retirees, civil servants, teachers, they have to foot the bill for this. So it will mean maybe a doubling of your maintenance, right? Or huge assessments. And many people will have to actually sell their homes at fire sale prices. They won't be able to afford it.
Yeah. And again, just through my experience, the initial estimate of the penalties, and these are the harshest penalties ever imposed on New Yorkers,
right,
for Local Law 97. And the estimate that the Redney came out with initially, if nobody did anything, was $900 million, almost $1 billion, which at the time was basically 10% of the New York City budget. Which it's a punitive statute.
That's right. It's punishing owners. You worked your whole life, you saved up, you bought a piece of property. This is going to be your home, right? And now you are being clobbered with huge fines. And what did you do? Nothing. These buildings all complied with the law when they were built, right? They complied with the zoning codes. And now the city is basically taking what they call a public good. Reducing carbon emissions benefits everyone, right? Now, we can get to the science in a minute because the NYU climate activists have actually written a report saying this won't help except maybe 2 or 3 generations from now. But never mind the science, assuming it would help. They've taken a public good and they've imposed the entire cost on a small group of people, 1.4 million New Yorkers. So my view is we have to mobilize these New Yorkers to vote against the one mayoral candidate who supports imposing this cost on owners, and that is Zohran Mamdani. Never mind how you feel about anything else in his repertoire of policies. I'm not going to criticize the man in any way, except to say, if you own a home, you've got to look at it for yourself and vote against him.
So your organization, have they contemplated like equal protection and Eighth Amendment challenges to the law?
Yes.
Because of this proportionate treatment. I grew up in a co-op. Lots of my family members currently live in co-ops. and I've spent many, many years living in them myself. So my question is also, how do you mobilize a lot of people to understand how impactful this is when these issues don't make the news?
That's
They
right.
don't make the news. They're not fired up. How do you fire them up to say, look, and Jeff talks about this all the time. This comes down to like $23,000 a unit, for example, or numbers like
Much
that.
more than that.
How,
Let me
how
show
do you
you. How
how
are
do
we
you
firing them up?
how do you get them fired up?
We hit the beach yesterday, so to speak. We have teams we've hired. We have flyers. We're going out to every condo and co-op in the city, borough by borough. We started in Queens yesterday, and we are putting the literature under the door. We are following up with door knocking and conversations. And closer to election day, we will have buses in front of those buildings to bring you to your polling place. I guarantee you, we are pulling out that 1.4 million voters. And if we pull out even half of them, we have defeated Mamdani because he got 469,000 votes in the primary. The DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, claim he now has 500,000 supporters. Okay, but we have more. We have more. We have 1.4 million homeowners who must turn out to protect themselves. This is a numbers game.
This law exempts 45% of the buildings in New York City, including 1 and 2 family homes, including rent stabilized buildings, including New York City buildings. So the building where they passed the law is exempt from Local Law 97.
Right.
The
They're going
hypocrisy.
after homeowners. It's almost ideologically unfair that they're targeting one group of people who worked hard to own something.
And the when we met with Costa and we asked them, I said, well, you could have two of the exact same buildings, and one's rent stabilized and one's a co-op. Why would they be treated differently? He said, well, the tenants would end up paying for it. In other words, it's a political divide that was made.
Owners versus renters.
And I think in the mayor election, I think it's a political divide also. I don't think
You are
Mandami.
so right, Jeffrey. You are so right. It's owners versus renters. And I suggest that the owners listening realize that if they vote as a bloc in this election, City Hall will stop pushing them around.
And that's always been an issue. The tenants have a strong lobby, teachers have a strong lobby, plumbers, electricians, everyone has a strong lobby.
Let's unite.
Co-ops do not have a strong lobby.
Well, that is our
And
whole
condos.
goal. We are out in the field, and you will see us in your building. And our T-shirts say, protect your home against Local Law 97. That's what it says. Protect your home.
I had a client who was younger than me, I guess, but in their 30s and 40s, very ideologically in favor of Local Law 97. They put together a Local Law 97 committee, and then the numbers came out. They were literally crying. It was $40,000 to $50,000 per unit to comply. And by the way, this is 4 years ago, and that doesn't even factor in the cost of what electricity will be.
Yes.
Betsy, has your organization even looked at that side of it too?
Because the Manhattan Institute and the Empire Center, two think tanks in New York, have both looked carefully at this, and they say energy prices are going to go up so much as the demand increases. The more you shift from other forms of heat, like oil heat and natural gas, to mandated electric heat, the more demand there will be on our electrical supply. But New York isn't producing enough electricity. We're buying a large share of it from Pennsylvania. And guess how they produce it? With fossil fuels. So you're simply shifting the carbon footprint across the border and paying huge prices. New York pays one of the highest rates for electricity in the country. I guess we're the sixth highest. And it's largely because we have to buy from out of state. Our solar and wind power is very expensive, as you know. And if we were producing more electricity in state using fossil fuels, the rates would be much lower.
Also, Indian Point was closed down without any replacement, and that was
Right.
25% of the
Congratulations
cities.
to Kathy Hochul. I don't usually say that. I'm not a Kathy Hochul fan, but she did support the other day the idea of more nuclear power for the state.
So just another fact that I'd like to insert here, that the New York State Controller came out with a report in November of 2024. The whole premise of, and for you guys listening, the whole premise of Local Law 97 is everybody, buildings reduce their carbon footprint by converting their heat and cooling and hot water to electric sources, which is a whole nother technical impossibility. But the idea is, if you're burning electricity, the electricity has to come from renewable sources. Right now, New York City is, I think, 20% from renewable sources, and the goal is to get it to 70%. And that is, after COVID, after all these licenses that are failing for these projects, that isn't a possibility. And the New York State Controller came out with a report and said that the New York State grid will not be 70% renewable by 2030. So it's sort of this absurd result where you've converted your building, yet you're still burning fossil fuel at the energy plant level, just down the street.
Yep. It's very unfortunate. And as I said, it's unfortunate to impose the whole cost on a specific group of homeowners. This reducing carbon emissions is a public good, and we should all share in it to the extent that we agree it's reasonable. We should all share in it equally. We shouldn't be imposing it on one group of people who simply can't afford it. And so I'm trying to make this a very major part of the election. As I said, I don't say anything negative about any of the candidates, and we're not endorsing a candidate, but we're saying, if you care about holding on to your home, affording to hold on to your co-op or condo, vote against Mamdani, because he is the one mayoral candidate who has vowed to enforce Local Law 97. All the others have said they'll look into changing it, slow walking it, repealing it, but not Mamdani. He's in 100%.
How did you come upon this issue? I'm just curious.
Well, as you know, I write a weekly column for the New York Post, and I started to look into Local Law 97. And frankly, I was horrified at how unfair it is. Horrified. I usually, my columns are always very balanced, as you know, you probably read them. But this law was so unfair, I couldn't think of anything good to say about it. I support climate remedies because I have 6 grandchildren. But this was so unfair and so scientifically unjustified. I just couldn't believe that the city council had gone ahead and passed this and the mayor had signed it.
So in the advocates for the co-op and condo community, we've introduced legislation to tweak it, I'll call it. I mean, we understand
Good luck with that.
you're not repealing it. So we do have an intro 772. Linda Lee, who's I would call her a fair-minded elected official from Northeast Queens, introduced it. And it counts green space. There's a lot of measures in there that would bring relief to middle and working class co-op and condo owners. And the bill has support from everybody from DSA members, 3 or 4. We have 24 sponsors, DSA members to Vicky Palladino and the Republican caucus and the Common Sense caucus and everybody in between, because it's become a tale of two cities. If you have co-ops in your district, all of a sudden, the ideology has to go out the window because you're dealing with real people. Then we have, like, Sandy Nurse had a protest on City Hall, in front of City Hall, to enforce Local Law 97 3 or 4 years ago. I looked it up. She has 5 co-ops in her district.
Yeah.
So this is a tale of two cities, because a lot of the advocates don't have, it doesn't affect their constituents.
Yes. But it does affect 1.4 million people. And my goal, Jeffrey, is to ensure that all of those people hear about this before the election. So you're going to see our Save NYC volunteers and teams out in your neighborhood distributing the literature. It's just informational, not endorsing a candidate, but telling you about Local Law 97 and urging you to vote against the one candidate who zealously supports Local Law 97, which is Zohran Mamdani.
What kind of pressure could you also put post-election on the legislature? And this is really a question both for Jeff as well as our guest, because, you know, this has been I can see it's been dragging for so long. And Jeff, you've been making heroic efforts. You're well knowledged and you're active and you're in the front. But what could be done to put more pressure on the legislature than exists now?
I'd like to answer that question.
That's for you, Betsy. Go ahead.
The question has to be put on the legislature before the election. Let me tell you, whether it's the mayor or the elected representatives, after the election, you're whistling Dixie. They've gotten reelected. They could care less. You have to put pressure on politicians when they're facing reelection.
Unfortunately, this group of city council candidates, most of them are unopposed, and again, they're ideologically driven on this issue, unless they have co-ops and condos in their district.
Right.
Because I always say this is a life issue. It's not a political issue.
No, it's not. It's about holding on to your home. Well, that's why we're in the streets. We're around the buildings and in the buildings every day now. I hope when you see our volunteers and our workers, you'll wave and say thank you and take a flyer and give one to your neighbors. Because if we vote single issue this time around, we can defeat this. We can at least defeat the mayoral candidate who's so gung-ho to enforce it.
So if people are listening, and how can they volunteer?
Oh, please come to savenyc.org. We have a place to sign up. You will hear from me immediately.
I did experience that. We did hear from you immediately.
Yes.
And you have met with some of the advocates, including the President's Co-op and Condo Council. And
that's right. We have many advocates. And but most importantly, we have the people behind us, the people who actually own their homes and want to protect them. This is a single issue election for us.
Other than sort of the ground game, is there going to be any other outreach, town halls or commercials?
Well, we can have events in your building. If you invite us, we are happy to come and talk to all the residents, bring our flyers, our informational pieces, get to know you better. We'd love to do that. Just reach out to savenyc.org and say, please come on a specific date. We'll be there.
Yeah, what I notice as someone who grew up in the co-op environment over the years, a lot of times the meetings are at 7 o'clock or whatever, right when homework has to be done.
Yeah, you got to feed the baby.
All of those things, and they don't necessarily have the room for big meetings in the co-op areas where they have to maybe go to a local church, synagogue, whatever, and rent space for a bigger auditorium.
Yeah.
But maybe if you use some of the infrastructure created from the pandemic,
I agree. That's a great idea.
Maybe you could have a broader reach.
We'll also be out in the supermarkets every weekend.
Oh, there you go.
Those are the modern day town centers.
They really are. Right. Everybody has to go shop. We'll be there.
So I've also, in my advocacy, which I always say I was sort of this, it swept me in because I would go meeting to meeting and everyone was scratching their heads. I have one co-op that installed solar energy and a solar carports over a large parking lot. Good neighbors, right?
Yeah.
And subject to local law 97 penalties because solar energy doesn't help you in your penalty calculation.
No.
Then I have Georgetown Muse, a big article, it's their solar proof is equivalent to planting 21,000 trees. And they're subject to local law 97 penalties. The law is so rigid that there's no human element to it. And the DOB and this mayor who we've met with, and he seems to understand the issues, has not really provided, um, the solution that Carlton condos are looking
Right.
for. But hopefully, if he wins or whoever wins other than Mandami, we can make inroads. We have met with the mayor. We have met with Governor Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa, and they all understand the issue.
Yes, they're all flexible. They're all
Yes,
flexible.
there is daylight there.
Right.
Mandami, we have not met with. We'd like to, but we have not heard back.
No.
No surprise there, right?
Is there any other jurisdiction that has an equivalent local law 97?
No.
No.
I looked at that. No.
No,
And in fact, after the election, if the unfortunate happens and Mr. Mamdani wins, we definitely will go to federal court to challenge this.
well, there was a constitutional challenge.
They dismissed the constitutional objections right away and went on to other things.
Yeah.
I believe it should be in federal court.
Okay, we're all in. And by the way, the two presidents of the PCC, the presidents of Condo Council, Bob Friedrich and Warren Schreiber, were the lead plaintiffs in that case, and certain legislators and administrators, people in the administration, wouldn't speak to them in meetings because they were plaintiffs in that lawsuit.
That is so outrageous. So outrageous.
And our feeling was this is a landmark legislation.
Yes.
It's nowhere else in the country. It deserves a vigorous legal review.
Of course it does.
What's more American than that?
And what's more un-American than not talking to your adversaries when you're disagreeing on a policy issue? Of course you should speak.
Well, just to add to that, Vicky Palladino came out, and she's, for those of you who don't know, she's a Republican from Whitestone in the city council, so she's one of 8. She came out with a very simple law that basically pushed back Local Law 97 7 years. Perfect.
Yeah.
Because that's kind
Maybe
of
we'll
what
have better technologies by then.
exactly, and that's what's
depends on technologies that don't exist yet.
right. AI didn't exist when the law passed,
Right.
and we won't be able to power the AI if the law goes through as is. Anyway, Vicky's bill, and I spoke to other legislators, got no traction because it was Vicky's bill. It's kind of
I know. I spoke with her about it too. Very unfortunate.
it's
A
children.
good idea.
It's like dealing with children. But now, Local Law 97 is landmark legislation. There's some
Let
sort
me
of
point out
versions
some
of
of the other things people should be concerned about if
Go
we're
ahead.
looking at climate initiatives. I'm very concerned about the schools in New York, and many people living in our condos and co-ops have school-age children who attend public school. And I was hoping that Mr. Mamdani would be concerned about the very low reading and math scores in New York. 40% of our grammar school kids fail the minimum standard of reading and math, minimum standard. And yet Mr. Mamdani isn't offering any remedies to that. He said he's going to give up mayoral control of the schools, obviously has no concerns about that. His one initiative regarding the schools is to replace the asphalt pavements around the schools with green turf. And to me, greening the schoolyards is not the top priority. Ensuring that Johnny or Jose can read, that's the top priority.
I agree with that. My daughter is a first grade school teacher in Harlem for 8 years, and she would love. I'll play her what you just said, and I'm sure her school will appreciate what you just said.
Yes.
They need resources desperately.
They need resources, they need standards, and they need an examination of what kind of teaching methods work. Because when kids aren't learning to read and do math in grammar school, you're dooming them to a life of failure. Never mind whether their school is climate compliant. Nobody ever said I failed in my life because my school had a pavement outside instead of green grass. That's just a preposterous approach.
Right, and schools are exempt, so they don't.
Right.
So they'll be burning fossil fuel in the building, so the kids will breathe that in. But the Carpent condo owners can't, won't be able to. All right. Just again, are there social media aspects to the Save NYC that
But
you're
we'd
working?
like to get more of the buildings. They have chat rooms. We'd like to get them chatting on Facebook about this. It will help us reach all of the occupants of the buildings. Our view is simple. Once everybody knows about local law 97, our job is done. They will be mobilized and incentivized to turn out and vote for any candidate they want, except Mamdani. We just have to protect these homeowners from such an unfair law.
Agreed. And I've attended numerous and spoken at numerous town halls where people walk in not knowing the issues and they walk out crying, literally
Yes.
crying.
Yes, because they know they won't be able to afford to hold on to their home.
Well, one idea I have for you is, there's a lot of banks and neighborhoods where there's tremendous amounts of co-ops. Maybe outside the bank, because people care about their money, you could have like maybe a little something going on as an educational table, like on the street somewhere.
I
Maybe you
like
could do
that.
something
I like that idea a lot. You're hired.
because it's
$1
all
a
about
day.
it's all about money, and
Yes.
and people need to actually, it needs to resonate with them. And when they go to the bank and they say like what Jeff was saying, was it 50,000 a unit? It's
It's
like,
going to clean them out.
yeah. So it's like, don't spend all your money today because
Right, we're coming after it.
you're going to need it later. That kind of thing. And no better place than the banks that are situated in heavy areas of co-op residency.
Yes,
and
it's a
condo
very
residency.
good idea.
So we'll transition from a very serious topic to Richard always does our closing and fun questions. Do you have any handy, Rich?
Oh, of course I do. I'm going to go off script. All right. So, you have any fun information about working at Newsmax, or how, like any kind of cool food you eat before you go on the air or anything like that?
Well, first of all, I love working at Newsmax. I've never worked at a television or any place that was more fun. The nicest people ever, really, just incredibly nice. And for my Sunday show, I get there pretty early in the morning, like 4:30, 4:45. So I've already had breakfast, but then halfway through the morning show, which runs from 7 to 10, they put out this beautiful buffet, and we play a rear for 10 minutes and we all rush to the buffet and have something delicious before the second half of the show.
All right. So we'll do what they say in school, compare and contrast. So when you're on ABC, like with John Catsimatidis's station, how's the food there?
Well, John, as you know, is a foodie. So there's always good food at ABC.
What is your food of choice
Chicken salad.
There you go.
I love chicken salad.
I had chicken salad for dinner last night.
That's my favorite.
Betsy, thank you very much. Once again, give a shout out to where people can contact savenyc.org.
SaveNYC.org. That's our email. You can go to savenyc.org. You can always call me at 917-748-0227 if you want to volunteer. But an email is better because sometimes you'll catch me without a pen and paper. And I want to hear from you, and we want to get our flyers out to all your buildings. So if you'd like to distribute these flyers in your building or just to your neighbors, please contact me and I'll send you the link right away or send you a package of them.
All right. Betsy McCaughey, you are officially a corporate condo insider. Congratulations.
I love it. What I always wanted to be.
Okay. Till the next podcast, folks. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Co-op and Condo Insider. We hope you found today's conversation informative and insightful. Don't forget to subscribe. We're available on all major podcast platforms. Until next time, stay informed.